All right, let's get started. My name is Baxter. I'm the website owner over at carwashcountry.com. If you're joining me on YouTube today or through the website, I really just want to thank you for just taking a few minutes out of your day, really to listen to me talk about auto detailing. I know it's a busy time of the year, so I wanted to cover a few things to maybe help your business move forward in 2020. I wanted to cover just a couple of topics that I've noticed over the past few years in writing and blogging on Car Wash Country that I thought may influence this industry as we move into a new decade. So that's really what I wanted to touch on today. But a few housekeeping items before I jump in. Any of the resources that I talk about today, I will make available on YouTube in the description, so you can check those out. Or if you're watching on the website, they will be available underneath this video. So feel free to pause it at any time and check those out. But a little bit about me. I grew up in North Carolina, really washing cars with my dad growing up in the driveway. And that really stuck with me throughout college. Really had a good time doing that with some cars that I bought and really fixing those up and making those look a little bit better than when I first got them. So that's really what led me to researching a few techniques that detailers use, from paint correction to, waxing and things like that. That's what led me to start this website. So if I'm able to help any detailers out there or anyone that's interested in becoming a detailer, that's really my goal here. But today I thought we'd start with taking a look at where the industry is at as a whole right now. So before I talk about 2020, I thought it might be good just to talk about where we're at currently as an industry. According to IBIS World, they released a study that projects detailing is growing at about 4% annually, which is on par with most other industries. The good thing about detailing, it's very large. It's a $12 billion industry, which presents a lot of opportunity, especially if you're a small detailer. I think there's plenty of revenue to go around if you're thinking about starting an auto detailing business. But a couple of things that I wanted to mention right off the bat that I've noticed is really increased commercialization, especially this year and the last couple of years. We've all been through this on-demand economy. We've seen it happen. We've seen Uber. We've seen companies like Grubhub. You can get just about everything delivered in a couple of hours. Detailing is following that trend. You have companies like Spiffy who can oftentimes detail your car within 24 hours of booking an appointment. We've really seen the technology in play, and that really can present a challenge if you are a smaller detailer and you're serving the lower end of the market. I'd call it the car wash market. When you get to advanced detailing, I think some customers, they really don't want someone to be in a parking lot at their office detailing a $100,000 or $200,000 car. So you want to shop for that. You really want at least 2 to 3 hours for that type of service. And a lot of these companies just can't provide that right now. So I think in the future, companies like this will present more of a threat to some smaller companies. But I think there's still tons of opportunity, no matter what size you are, to differentiate yourself. So let's talk about technology. Really, with technology, it really doesn't matter what market you're serving. If you're serving the higher end market, if you're serving a lower market, technology will be important in 2020. Things need to be convenient. They don't necessarily have to be very fast, but they need to be very convenient for the customer. If you serve a very high-end market, they want to be able to book appointments on your website with ease. Even if they expect this to take a couple of days, they expect their car to take 2 or 3 days in your shop, they still want a convenient experience. They want to fill out forms on your website, get confirmation emails. They want to pay pretty easily. And I feel like there's a lot of room for many detailers to add in some more technology to make this process a lot easier. Probably 60% of all web traffic is mobile. It really varies widely depending on the industry. But if you don't have a mobile website, really mobile first and mobile only is the way to go these days. Everybody's on a smartphone, obviously. Whether you are showing up to an office building or you have a customer who is driving to you to drop their vehicle off, they don't have a laptop or a desktop in front of them oftentimes. So making sure that they're able to pay, they're able to view anything they need to view on your website from a mobile phone will be huge. And really hand in hand with that is software. If you're using any type of software currently, that's not going anywhere. A lot of detailers use Stripe for payments. I mean, there's a ton of software out there you can use, from just general Outlook calendars to companies that specialize in not only scheduling but point of sale and CRM software. Companies like Detail Pro POS, they kind of offer this all-in-one solution. But anything that you can do to make it easier for your customer to pay, to schedule, everything all in one process, I think will be important in 2020. I think right now it's a little disjointed. I think a lot of detailers are trying a lot of software products, but hopefully in the future you'll have companies that emerge that will handle all of this for you, just to make it a lot easier, not only for you but your customers. The next thing I wanted to touch on briefly is online reputation. If you have a website, you know how important this is. You've got Google reviews, Yelp reviews. You've got a lot of car wash apps now that have reviews built right in. Word of mouth is obviously probably the best way as a detailer to receive referrals, but it's really becoming less and less common. More people are starting on their smartphone versus asking their neighbor. So that's something to really monitor and keep an eye on. If someone leaves a negative review, it's going to happen. Best practice is to always respond to your reviews, make sure your customers are happy. As AI, as all the algorithms are ranking detailers, this will become more of a factor. So keep it in mind. Another trend I really wanted to talk about is really the rise of eco-friendly detailing products. You see these on store shelves a lot. I mean, I see them all the time, and I think it's really in response to a more environmentally conscious consumer. I don't really think it's affected detailing like it has other industries, but I do think it's worth paying attention to and at least trying a few, eco-friendly products if you haven't already. I think this is one way to really separate your business from others, is to use these types of products. I know a lot of times people will say, well, they don't really work as well. They don't do a great job on wheels. They don't do a great job compared to some other products that I use. And one way to really get around that is to use a water containment mat where you can recycle your water. You don't have to worry about contaminants polluting streams. And one thing to really keep in mind with water runoff, a lot of these commercial office spaces, they now require that you use one of these mats. So that's going to become more of an issue, I think, in the future. I actually wrote a blog post on a bunch of different eco-friendly options that you can think about including in your services menu. If you haven't already checked that out, I will add a link to that. carwashcountry.com/eco should take you right to it. But that's one thing to really keep in mind, is just the eco-friendly products that are on the market. See which ones work for you, which ones that you like, and that's something that you can market your services as. Consumer preferences are obviously changing. According to a study, 35% of consumers are willing to pay more for eco-friendly services, and obviously auto detailing is a service. So that's good news if you already are using waterless or eco-friendly or biodegradable products. I think biodegradable is really the right word to use here, but it's something to pay attention to as we move into 2020. Another thing that I really wanted to mention briefly is additional services. So if you're an auto detailer and you're only offering just basic wash and detailing packages, let's say you're a mobile detailer, I think there's a lot of money to be made in additional services if you're not already doing that. I think it's something that you're beginning to see larger companies do, but it really offers an opportunity as a small business owner, as a smaller detailer, to separate your brand from others by offering things like headlight restoration services, or maybe pet hair removal or deep cleaning carpets, using a carpet extractor, something that takes a little more time but you can charge a little bit extra for. If you already have a shop, if you already have a place where you're doing auto detailing, this is just a relatively easy thing to add. But as a mobile detailer, like if you take headlight restoration, for example, you really only need a polisher and just a few supplies really to learn how to do this. I just wrote a blog post about this not too long ago. If you're interested in that, I'll make that available. But I really think there is money on the table to be made by just offering a few more of these things. So that's something to keep in mind as more detailers try to compete and really differentiate themselves from others. So as I mentioned earlier, the auto detailing industry is growing, but with that growth, the general car wash market is growing as well. So I think you can expect to see more tunnel washes. I think that some of the older tunnel washes will be upgraded in the future. Some of these that I've noticed lately that are being built are really nice. They have a lot of lights, a lot of reasons to drive in there. As an auto detailer, you know the dangers of these. If your market is only interested in maintenance washing, it's something to pay attention to, because you really want to educate that consumer of the dangers of those, really what you can offer that they can't offer, because they are very crowded a lot of times. I think a lot of people do view these as just as good as a basic wash, a basic hand wash by a detailer, and they're obviously not. But you are starting to see car wash membership programs. Some of the technology makes it more easy to drive up to these gates, not have to interact with any sort of automated point of sale system. With these membership programs, they have gates with RFID scanners or sensors that basically open the gate if you're a member and allow you to do everything online, so you really don't have to ever get out of your car or even roll the window down. So I think we'll see more of those types of tunnel washes. But like I mentioned earlier, if you are an auto detailer, just adding in a few extra services, the headlight restoration, something like that, that really can help separate what you do as a professional detailer from anything a consumer can expect from a tunnel wash. And I think part of this too is really educating the customer base what the difference is between auto detailing and just general maintenance washing. I think maintenance washing is important. You obviously want to knock off salt, you want to prevent rust, but you also want to have your car detailed as well. You want to protect it, you want to apply wax, and do some of these things by hand that you just can't expect from a tunnel wash. So I think that will be important in the future, just to really educate your customer about and to prepare for as a detailer. So as I wrap up, I thought I'd touch on millennials and Gen Z. Once again, since I am a millennial, I wanted to talk about really how to tap into this market, because I think it is important as we move into 2020. Millennials are spending about 17% of their total expenditures on transportation. And this was a study even done 2 years ago, so I'm sure it's probably even more than that now. That's ahead of Gen X and baby boomers. So when it comes to professional services, this is really good news for auto detailers. I think more and more money will be spent on services and convenience, like I mentioned earlier. But they are different. They are different from baby boomers, from people like my dad and my grandpa. They were pretty confident in their abilities to wash and wax and maybe even do some paint correction. But when we take a look at millennials and Gen Z, they just really prefer someone else to do that. Generally, they're less confident, but they're really looking to save time. So I think that's a huge thing for mobile detailers. I think there will always be a subset of the population who will always prefer to have their cars detailed over the course of a couple of hours. So I don't think detailing shops have anything to worry about. But I do think we'll see more self-driving cars, more ride-sharing services. We'll have more fleets, obviously, with Uber and Lyft, and you'll have companies like Amazon who will need to have their fleets washed. So I think there's a huge market there in fleet washing services. But again, we've touched on this a little earlier. A little over 50% of millennials prefer owning green cars. So mixing in a few of those green detailing products, I think, is also a good idea. And then obviously convenience with mobile apps and outsourcing maintenance. So I want to thank everybody for joining me today. This is just a brief webinar I wanted to put together just as we move into 2020, just to get you thinking about a few things to mix into your strategy, a few things to think about. If you have any feedback, anything else that you're noticing, feel free to leave me a comment on YouTube. Feel free to leave a comment on the website. We'd love to hear what detailers, whether you're a beginner or advanced, what you think about this. And all these resources, like I mentioned, will be available. But thank you again. Hope you have a great 2020, and I will see you next time. Thanks.